Hey, everybody. Welcome to Ignited Live. I'm Charity.
And I'm Kathy.
We're glad you could join and happy Tuesday.
So did you have a little trouble getting that going? Looked like
You didn't have to
didn't
tell
wanna.
everyone. It's
I didn't.
possible.
It's possible.
Yep.
All things are possible.
Sure.
To him
those
who believe. That's right.
And apparently you did not believe I could do it.
I was wondering just for a split second,
Uh-huh.
are you going to be able to do this?
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I didn't feel like that it was you. You were clicking, but it wasn't happening.
Right.
Right. So
True.
It wasn't you per se.
Yeah, don't blame me.
Yeah. It's just technology.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
I've been reminiscing for a while now, and especially since our meetings in Myrtle Beach, thinking about the move of God.
Mhm.
And I'm really, what I say, a product of a move of God, and of the move of God that we really experienced up in New York and then up in Toronto, right? And that would have been in 94, 95, 96 in there. And powerful presence of the Lord that was so rich among us as we would gather, no matter where it was. I mean, I remember going up, into St. Catharines or in Toronto, and anywhere that I knew God was moving, I wanted to be there. And I am having that same yearning again. I want to be where his presence is so tangible that you can't even stand up.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, right? So anyways, and reminiscing about the moves of God and looking at different heroes of the faith that the Lord used, I started just thinking about how my life was turned totally upside down during that time. From not really saying much to anybody to, at the time, my husband, when he was here, he would pull me up to share things or to begin to preach. And so when that happened, there was for me, I was actually shocked at some of the opposition of me standing behind the pulpit. And there were some that just did not believe that a woman could be behind the pulpit. And so we went through a period of time where it was painful and hurtful and offensive. And I had to come to the place myself and reconcile what was happening with the Lord. And I knew that I was called of God. I knew it. I knew it from the time that I was, born again at the age of 15. I had an encounter with the Lord. I knew that I was called, but now it's like I was brought out by my husband, and there's all this opposition that came. And I'm thankful even for that, because it teaches us one thing: we need to know why we believe what we believe, right? And so I can remember my husband doing this deep dive, and he spent months researching, the scriptures and some of the hard things that the Apostle Paul said about women that were said to us as validation for me not being in the pulpit. Like, sure, this right here tells you that, you're in error. So he did this deep dive and actually discovered that there were a few women or female apostles. And so we went through that, and then he does this teaching, which was so rich. He spent maybe a month laying out the different scriptures that people tended to bring in opposition of me being in ministry, or any woman for that matter, but because I was kind of the target at that point with people in our own congregation that didn't understand it. Sure. Right. And so he spends about a month, and I still remember the last Sunday that he covered it. He apologized to women for the way that they've been treated in the church. And it was a moving, powerful service. It really was. And you probably would have had to have been there to experience it. And then,
well, I would say yes.
Yes.
But for some who are females who may have faced opposition, simply hearing that,
that's true, Chair.
It's very comforting to know that there are people, times, and places where that was talked about. And so it gave voice to an issue that, arises quite often if you happen to be a female.
Yes.
And you want to serve in the church, because there's definite roles that are okay across the board.
Right.
And definitive roles that may not be okay across the board.
That's right. And everything for a few years seemed absolutely fine. And then when my husband passed, we began to experience a little pushback, I would say.
Yeah.
Because my covering, they considered him my covering.
Right.
He was gone. And so then the question came up again of, well, is this right for you to
minister without him? Right. As you're covering.
Yeah. And then just I would say in the last maybe 4 or 5 months, we've encountered that same pushback in at different times, different places, but that same pushback, and realizing that we're in an area maybe where it's not so widely embraced, but it may be actually the opposite.
Right.
Right. And so I have my old Bible, I call it my old Bible, and it's a Bible that when I really was becoming radical in my walk with the Lord in 94, 95, I had this Bible, but some of it started to fall apart. And so just a few months, maybe 3-4 months before my husband passed, he bought me a new one. And I was so happy for it. But I decided I'm going to pull out my old Bible because I had these notes from his message that he did. And it was the last one that he covered on woman in ministry. And it's out of Timothy. I'm sure you'll all recognize it. It's just 2 verses where it says, "Let a woman learn in silence with all submission. And I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man, but to be in silence." Okay, so if you just read those 2 verses, you might come to the same conclusion that a woman is not to be in ministry. And I'm going to kind of give you it in a snippet tonight. I love teaching. I would love to spend a little bit more time here. But I heard somebody say that sometimes when you're discussing something, there can be that feeling of, I'm right and you're wrong. And of course, I'm right because I know what I believe, right? And that can just start a fight. And so maybe a way to approach it is, we're watching 2 different movies on the same screen, right? And so I read it, and I believe, information, contextual information that matters in this passage. And so what my husband taught is, during that time, and of course, if Randy were on, Randy would probably be able to do a very good teaching on it. But Paul is writing to Timothy, who's the pastor of the Ephesian church. And when you look at Ephesus, we're talking about the context of the day. What was Paul speaking to in that day? And it's important to know. And if you think, well, then if we're supposed to read it at face value, then you have to say, then men everywhere ought to lift their hands without wrath and doubting. So every time we go to church, we should see men with their hands lifted without wrath and doubting, right?
Sure.
Right. So I think that it's important to take things within context, for one thing. But there was a belief during that time, and of course you had Diana the goddess over in Ephesus, but there was the belief of Gnosticism, which elevated woman and taught that women were actually above man, and they were the creator, and they were the one with the knowledge, and they actually elevated Eve. And so if you read on, the Apostle Paul begins to talk about it. No, Adam was formed first, and then came Eve. He's dealing with a teaching that was being taught at that time. And some people believe that it was wealthy women that had come into the kingdom and into the belief of Jesus. And they were maybe unlearned in the scriptures. And so the Apostle Paul is talking, to that teaching of Gnosticism. And so I have all these notes written in the side. Of course, he says, let a woman learn. So he's not against learning and being educated, and then learn in silence. That's to quietly in agreement. You're in agreement with the scriptures is what that word actually means. Now, it's interesting when it says, I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man. One of the meanings of that is to initiate or be responsible for a murder. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So when you go into the study of the Greek, of course, there's different interpretations that you can have. But my point is that we can all come to a different interpretation, but we have to take it in the context of the day. And when you consider, Paul was also talking about other things like forbidding to marry and genealogies and old wives' tales and fables. There's a lot that he was dealing with, the church in Ephesus, but we tend to sometimes focus on, well, it's the woman. We got to get the woman out of the pulpit. And I think because I'm so hungry and yearning for the moving of the Spirit, and thinking back to those days, that's when my life was turned around, literally turned around. And I think back to that same issue that we faced then, we're facing it again today.
Yeah, I think, when there was a move of the Spirit, a move of God, whatever you want to, that cultivated an awareness within you and Dad that there was a more of a gifting in you than what they saw or what you saw up till that point. So it was a big transformation, and it was a big transition for the church that we had.
That was huge.
It was a big transition for our family. So it was very different. And in the midst of transition, I find most of the time people feel a little lost. And sometimes that can cause you to want to pull away from the unfamiliar and cling to what you have been familiar with, because that feels safer and easier. And I think that it's taught me along the way that, my dad did a deep study on woman in ministry when he took a whole month to talk about it and different passages of scripture. I remember thinking at the time, doesn't everybody think like this, because it felt like after hearing within the context, this makes sense. And I have a different understanding of this. And so I couldn't understand why others might come to a different conclusion. But you're right. You can be watching, different movies on the same screen, really. It's just differences and of understanding. But I think it's helpful to talk about the context. And, when you look at someone like Charlie Kirk, he would ask questions and he wanted to understand context. He wanted to understand what was happening at the time so that there was a good understanding. So when you see someone in action like that, that really could debate, right? We might not all have the skills to debate, but we all have the skills like the Bereans to be taking the word and receive it with gladness and then go home and study it out. So,
yeah. And then I was thinking too, there's I'm not sure, but there was a woman in Canada who's written on this topic, and your dad had referenced hers. And back in the day, of the early church, when there was persecution, some of them would go into these like caves, just to escape. And this woman, I think she was from Canada, had actually gone over and in the caves, they had carved in the stone the names of the apostles, which is really cool. And there's like a list of female apostles. And so that was in her book. And that's one of the things he referenced. We'll have to pull out his teaching and read it, but it was so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, just wanted you all to know. What did we want them to know?
Well, it's good to search things out. Know what you believe, why you believe. I'm still on a journey figuring some things out, probably like you. But I think it reminds us that a couple things. One is, in every move of God, there's someone that the Lord will use. We may not always appreciate the fullness of that person, but we need to appreciate the fullness of what God's doing and receive that. And I think if we can learn from history, a lot of times people are more appreciated after they have passed, unfortunately. And I think we, as humans, can do better. We can appreciate one another while here and seeing the gifts that we are to one another. So if you have family members or friends, somebody that you respect, it's always good to just let them know what you appreciate about them. Because we don't have tomorrow promised to us, but in this moment, we don't have to waste time. We can do that.
Yes and amen. Well, as we minister here on Ignited Live, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, we are speaking to the person who is joining us on one of those platforms. You may be using a different name, and we may not know you personally, but we are asking the Lord to speak to those of you who are personally connecting with us on one of those platforms. And please remember to put your name in and where you're from.
Also, check out ignitedministries.org. You can sign up to be on our email list. You can find resources, and also if you would like to give. You may have noticed there's a little tickler at the bottom of the screen, and it tells you how to text give. Also, if you'd like to use PayPal, and there's a QR code right there. So if you hover with your phone, if you're watching on your laptop or your TV, you can just hover over it. And once it pops up with that little yellow website icon, you can just hit that and it will take you right to the giving tab for Ignited Ministries PayPal.
Hey, and how about yesterday, President Trump with the peace?
Pretty incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. Now there's a lot of work to be done, right? But
yes, but to even get to this point is an incredible thing. It's amazing. Yeah.
It is amazing. I still remember, when everybody was running in 2015 and we had all those candidates and we're going to be voting, or was it 2016, I guess, or 15, I don't know. And I think there were like 16 or 17 candidates at that time.
That's a lot.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
And I knew the Lord had said to me one morning early, ask me for a John Wayne type president. And what John Wayne represents to me is he was a good guy, a really good guy.
In general?
Yes, in general.
Yeah.
And he would go in and make things right.
Right. He didn't
take care of the
bad
guys. No, he didn't. And he liked peace, right? And so I was asking the Lord for that John Wayne type president. And so I would watch the different debates that would take place. I'll tell you, the one person that kept standing out to me was President Trump. Then when he went to the Iowa caucus, I still love how God does this. He goes to the Iowa caucus, and I didn't have any clue of this, but there is a John Wayne museum there. And John Wayne's daughter came out and endorsed Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And then I knew that's the president that God has chosen. I knew it as soon as that all happened, for sure. I really thought it probably was, but that really told me. And I love how God does that and speaks. So anyways, here we are, these so many years later, 8-9 years later, and that peace deal was signed yesterday.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Amazing is right. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Exciting days.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. You ready?
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh.
I thought you were timing me. You were, go ahead.
No. All right. Right.
I think I saw on Instagram that Easton is watching. So hello to Easton.
Easton, how are you, buddy?
We love and miss you.
We sure do. I love hearing your stories.
All right. And then Neva Ramirez from California said, nice to see you ladies. Neva, I think that's how you say your name. One of the things that I saw for you is the word freedom, and that there's something that the Lord is doing of putting within your heart a deeper understanding of the freedom you have in him, and finding that place of sitting before him and being refreshed and being strengthened, and knowing that you want to be an extension of his love to ones around you. And so as you sit with him, it's like he's filling you afresh. He's giving you what's needed for the day, and he's taking you out and launching you into the deeper things of his spirit.
Okay, Vaughn and Shauna, I do that every time, Shauna. I see the
She's got a new nickname.
I am Shuna, so sorry.
We love you.
We do love you. We love you both. But it's interesting because I think it may have been, a week, maybe 2 weeks back. I was just sitting outside and I saw your building, and I was thanking the Lord for what he did for you guys. And the one thing actually 2 things came to mind. One is there is more to the story than what you yet see. In other words, God has more ahead. And it's like you've stepped into the beginning of the story, but there's much more ahead. And then thinking about, the significance of the location. And the one thing that I felt the Lord speaking is just keep on moving, keep on going.
All right. Christy Leglee, I think that's how you say your name, in Blackpool, UK. Christy, I saw you searching some things out, really trying to figure things out. And there was a picture that I had of you, when you're a kid and you're trying to read a book at night and you have this little flashlight and you're trying to sneak every last chapter that you can get in, and you're just looking at things, but it's so dark and you're a little bit on edge. That's what I sense for you right now, is that it's like you're finding enjoyment in some things, but you feel a little bit on edge. And I see the Lord coming to bring you peace and settling some things down, and that it's a whole new chapter for you, and that he's causing you to understand even how to shift into the new things and to recognize that he's with you, he's for you, and he's bringing a greater understanding of his peace that passes all understanding.
Okay, Cliff Cherry from New Zealand. God bless you, Cliff Cherry. I had a sense of there being a significant assignment ahead for you in regards to whether it's the region you're in or even the nation, but there's a significant assignment that the Lord is giving to you. And it's important, that you understand that this is like the Lord calling you. And then I had this picture of you getting in the saddle, of a horse that's already saddled and bridled and ready to go. And you're getting into the saddle. And I feel like this is yours to take. And there is something greater, something great, something more significant ahead for you in regards to this calling and standing, but also knowing that it's yours.
Janella Kim in Korea. Janella, I had a sense for you that the Lord is reawakening a deeper passion on the inside of you. And it's like waking you up in the early mornings at times, and it's stirring you, and you're beginning to recognize that he's calling you to that deeper place. It's deep calling unto deep, and that you will find yourself, it's like I see scriptures in front of you and things on a list that need to get done. And I see you just keeping track, keeping things in order, and also recognizing that you want to go with the flow of whatever the Lord is doing, and not be tied down or locked into something. And I see the Lord giving you a greater freedom of expression and even that joy in his presence.
Kimberly Segroy from Syracuse, New York says, at my second home in Fort Myers, Florida right now. That sounds nice.
Yeah.
Fort Myers. I don't know. Have we been to Fort Myers?
I don't know.
Well, Kimberly, anyways, I'm glad you can enjoy the home down there. I saw the Lord coming and meeting with you, and it's like you sitting with your Bible open and, a cup of coffee, and the Lord is coming and talking with you. And it's almost as though you can't wait to get back to that spot again, because his presence comes every time you make that place for him and you position yourself. He comes and meets with you, and you're going to find that revelation will flow to you, and even the knowing that God directs your steps and he will not fail you.
All right, Julia on YouTube. Julia, I had a sense for you. I saw the word promotion and the Lord reminding you of his grace being sufficient for you and that he has new mercies each day. And I see you shifting your focus from one thing, and then it's like the Lord's bringing expansion to what you do.
Okay. Let me see. Easton. I have to say, Easton, that you are such a good boy, like a really good boy, and you bring such joy. I'm so glad I know you.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay. So Sarah Burlingame in Syracuse. Sarah, I see you like preparing, when you're going to have a dinner and people are coming over. And what we usually do, at least most of us, right, we start cleaning the house and making sure we have all the food that we're going to need if somebody's coming. And I see you making preparations, and it's like that, preparing the way of the Lord, preparing to minister to the people that come through your door. And this is really important.
All right. I just saw Carlos in Newcastle, UK. Carlos, I saw you rehearsing scriptures and just really presenting yourself before the Lord. And there's something that you have been really asking the Lord to help you to search some things within you, make sure everything is right between you and him, and that he's seen your heart. He's seen the diligence that you have really put forth in the work that's in front of you. And I saw like at times where it feels like barriers or blocks, but the Lord giving you the breakthrough and giving you the ability to see ahead of time what needs to take place and to walk in that.
Okay, Maurice Perillo said, miss you both. Have a close relative who is dealing with role of woman in ministry, praying how best to address the issue in love. Yeah, and that's the key, right? Is that we do it in love. I know for me, Maurice, I've not, and I don't ever want to be a pushy woman, and I'm not a feminist in that sense of women's rights, the way that we know them today, I guess. I like the right to vote.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But may the Lord just give you the wisdom that's needed.
Yeah.
And the key, I think, is that are people open to, a different school of thought, or maybe being shown, like in this case with Timothy, the context of what the Apostle Paul was speaking to in that day. And if someone's not open, there's really no point, right?
Yeah.
May God give you great wisdom and understanding, and may his love flow from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we love you guys very much, and we appreciate you taking time with us here on Tuesdays. Now it's been, I don't even know how many years, since 21?
2020.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's been a few years now. And we look forward to these times, and we pray that it blesses you. And we will see you next Tuesday, same time, same place, Lord willing, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Nope, 7 to 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm changing the time, guys. Not really.
Sure.
Just kidding. Reel that back in. I saw the time 7:30. I'm like, oh, 7:30. No, not yet. So anyways, we love you guys, and we will see you next time.
And God bless you.
Yes.